Welcome to this episode of the Successful Encore Career Podcast. I'm Carol Ventresca, Employment for Seniors Executive Director.
And I'm Brett Johnson, longtime supporter of Employment for Seniors and producer of this podcast. I want to thank our sponsors. They include Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging, planning, funding, and developing services that make our community places where individuals can live with independence and dignity, Nationwide Insurance, Protect What Matters, and Innosource, a leading provider of call center and customer service jobs, matching qualified professionals with rewarding career opportunities.
Today's program is going to focus on a statewide agency that also provides employment services, programs, and assistance to mature job seekers. Our guest is Paul Magnus, Vice President of Workforce Development with Vantage Workforce Solutions. Paul, welcome to our program.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, we have had an opportunity to work together over the years. We've known each other for a long time, and I'm really excited that Vantage and EFS have joined together in our new location in Whitehall. And we talk about our location on our podcasts a lot because we love being here in Whitehall, and they have done a great job serving us as nonprofits in the community. And your team has been incredible supporting Employment for Seniors with the receptionist services that we are given each day. So I hope that we are assisting you in recruiting your folks into the CSEP clients, into your CSEP group. So, Paul, you've been in this business a lot longer than we have. And so tell us a little bit about your background and your philosophy of the value of working with and getting mature job workers placed.
Okay. Actually, I have been just celebrated 33 years at the agency.
Oh, my goodness.
At some point when I first started, I realized with these aging baby boomers, there was going to be a lot of interest in senior employment. And so it just started as the silver tsunami started the age wave, and we've been engaged ever since. And, the name of our agency was just changed. Mm-hmm. It's Vantage Aging, and it's Vantage as in a vantage point. And we really looked at how people regard aging, and we wanted to take a very positive approach. Oftentimes, aging's looked at as a problem, something you have to either avoid or fix.
Well, and that's why I never liked that term silver tsunami. Because to me, a tsunami is destructive.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're anything but destructive. Baby boomers have been building the world for a long time.
And probably age wave, if you have to call it something.
True. That's true. Mm-hmm. So, okay.
Well, one focus we have at EFS and for the podcast is to give our mature job seekers a new look at their next career path. We featured several Encore careerists. And I understand that Vantage has a full-service Encore program in Northeast Ohio. Give us some details on that and the plans for Central Ohio as well.
Yeah, a couple years ago, the Cleveland Foundation started an initiative called Encore Cleveland, and it had to do with funding groups of programming that can tackle the Encore program, because Encore is really started kind of on the coast. There's some Encore programs on the East Coast. And also it was really started up on the West Coast with a program that really tried to channel volunteers into very active, engaging positions. Instead of socialization, it was about really helping meet unmet needs in agencies. And that's kind of started to spread around, but it's a relatively new program, and I think of it as a movement, because there's all these individuals that are every day there's just under 11,000 people turning 65, and all that productivity, all that talent, all that work ethic, we can't afford really to let it go. We need it. It's needed in the communities. And our slogan is older workers making a difference. Mm-hmm. And so what our model is we use a staffing service model, and we match the Encore employees with nonprofits. And there's really two categories, or two buckets, as you will, of Encore employees. The major one is Encore workers that want to work during retirement. They've had a successful career. You've got all this potential of middle managers, upper managers, people that want to do social services, and they want to redefine what it's like to retire. Mm-hmm. And they're interested in working. About 49% of the individuals that retire want to work. Mm-hmm. In fact, when they polled individuals that were very successfully retired and did not need the money, that was actually very close, pretty close to 47%. So there's something about work with this generation that they want to continue to do it and make a difference. And it's a point in their life where they can reinvent themselves. Some people call it a second career. Mm-hmm. And at the same time make a difference. So the way our program works is we charge the agencies $15 an hour, and the Encore employees get paid $10. That helps us sustain it and continue to grow it, but it also keeps it affordable for that agency. It's a turnkey program, and we work with city governments, nonprofits, and community services to help meet those unmet needs.
And I love the term Encore. Mm-hmm. There is nothing negative about that, as we just talked about tsunami and even a wave. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is. It's an encore of maybe stopping one and going to another. It could be just another piece of what they've done or have done already, and they just want to refine it and do it their way.
And that's a good point, because we have some that want to. Not every teacher necessarily wants to do tutoring as their encore assignment. Right. Although, ironically, we just placed 40 tutors to help the Cleveland School District, working with one of our Encore customers. And I think they'll have a lot to do. They work with students that are also close to passing those tests in 8th grade, proficiency tests, to give them some test wiseness and some tutoring to move them over the top.
Well, it was interesting. I gave a workshop at one of the local job fairs yesterday, and I think there were about close to 40 people in the room. And I was asking them those questions. How many of you need to work full time with benefits because you're still in your career path? And a good portion of them were still doing that. But then, how many just want to work part time? How many, were retired and bored and want to come back? How many want to work and continue to serve the community? How many want to give back? Now's your time to give back, but with a little bit of salary to it too. And there were several hands that went up. So they're getting it. Yeah. It's not just finding that part-time job. Right. They're getting that they want to do the actual give back.
Yeah. And there's always individuals that want to work. They just want to punch a clock. They want to earn some extra money, and there's a variety of programs out there to help them, but Encore really focuses on individuals that want to give back to their community. And we actually, all of ours are part-time. It's averaging between 15 and 25 hours per week.
Right. That's good though. That's because so many of our older clients are looking for that flexibility. They don't want to work 40 hours. They want to work, they want to be involved in an organization enough to be engaged with it, not just a 1 day a week or 1 day a month volunteer opportunity.
They want those 4-day weekends.
Yeah. Exactly. We all want those.
And what agency really wouldn't want some extra help? How many projects do we have on that to-do list that we just can't find the time to do?
Right.
So that's the kind of talent that we're corralling to enable, so that agencies, it's a very good job. Some of them have told us that this is really like getting a consultant. And it's not really a consulting position, but there's so much talent. Right. And we're really shooting for those middle managers that have the skills, match them with an agency, for instance, that needs a marketing plan or a business plan. Or we had one gentleman working with the city of Cleveland, and they wanted to do focus groups. That was right up his alley as a sales and marketing executive, and that saved the city a lot of money they wouldn't have been able to do. So there's not just the outcomes of placing individuals, there is the impact that it makes on the community.
Right, and it's consulting without having that consulting fee.
Right.
That's astronomical at times. So.
We're kind of threading the needle between a traditional volunteer that tend to work maybe 4 hours a week or once a month, and a 1099 or a on-contract consultant.
Right.
We're right in the middle there. And it's not, they like earning money. But it's not just that. It's the validation.
Right.
They feel they're really, their skills are appreciated by that agency.
Mm-hmm.
Plans for Central Ohio with this, then? You mentioned a lot of Cleveland area opportunities. Mm-hmm. What might be happening in this area?
Well, we've already started to branch out.
Okay.
In fact, I was in Cincinnati, and there's some possibility of working with local agencies down there. And because we have part of the grant that we got, the capitalization, as it were, from Cleveland Foundation, was to develop the infrastructure. And we've actually paired, the name of it now is Encore Staffing Network.
Okay.
And we do plan to move across the state. We're in 39 counties, so we want to concentrate on those, what they call the Tri-C, Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati, because those are markets with a lot of potential. And I did want to mention another group that it helps, because it's really a 50-plus program. And as everybody knows, there were a lot of older workers, I kind of call them the leave-behinds from the Great Recession. They've got good skills, but they're having trouble re-engaging and getting back to the workforce. There's a lot of agencies where their Encore project could actually be a shorter-term project. And you do 1 or 2 projects as an Encore employee, that increases your likelihood of getting back to work. Because it's been proven that people that remain engaged rather than just simply looking for work, they're more likely to get work again. They'll update their resume, they'll get some new skills, plus they'll have some nonprofit managers that can vouch for them. And sometimes an Encore position does lead to staff. So it's those 2 buckets again. It's the more traditional retirees that may want to do something to complement their retirement. The average Encore person, once engaged, stays for 10 years. Not all the time at the same agency, but they're engaged in the Encore process. I mean, we all go on vacations, and they're wonderful to have, but you ever you're happy to get back home and start things again. Imagine retirement being just one big long vacation. Most people can't do that. They really want to be engaged in their community. And Encore helps cities. It helps communities. Because if we can engage our citizens after retirement, they're less likely to leave. And they stabilize communities, and they make it an active and thriving aging community as part of the diversity that major areas attract. So it really is something that can help address problems on many levels.
So Paul, one of the things that we always say about our clients at Employment for Seniors is that, mature job seekers are really the jewels of the job market. They're hidden jewels. And what we also find is that they're not necessarily ready to find a job because they don't understand the job search process. So I'm guessing that some of your Encore folks may also not understand how to do those next steps, how to be ready, how to network, how to, if they need to improve skills, improve them before they get started, or when they are engaged in an Encore position, how to take advantage of updating those skills. So can you tell us a little bit about the other kinds of things you're doing with your folks to get them ready to be in that Encore program?
Well, a lot of, and this is common really with all job seekers, whether you're looking for an Encore assignment or trying to get back to the workforce. It's very common for people to chase jobs. They may chase, they used to chase want ads, but now it's Indeed and, all the different online applications. But when you get right down to it, you'd be like a salesperson waiting for the phone to ring. It's a very reactive. So one of the things through collaboration that we do is teach people how to research and target potential jobs and how to identify potential companies that they could work for. And don't wait for the ad. Call the company's directory. And there are online directories where you can find out the name of the HR department, or better yet, that they don't have an HR department, and contact the manager or the production and, that type of thing. It's really what we try to do is get people to engage in what we call consultative marketing. And that involves listening, getting those employers to talk about their needs. And so it's a process that we like all job seekers to go through. And depending on the occupation, people may not be aware of how to do that and how to tap those unadvertised jobs. And so we do it through collaboration where we have groups that come and meet on a regular basis. And it's not just to network, but it's to collaborate with each other and market each other. We've even experimented with having them market the Encore program to the nonprofit sector.
Yeah, it's been an underlying theme. Gosh, maybe for the last 3 or 4 podcasts that we've produced that seek out those opportunities versus the opportunities seeking you out.
Right.
A lot of those positions that are open are not even known to the world other than inside.
Well,
and you have to have those opportunities, the fortitude to go for it.
Right. And so you picture this iceberg, and what you see is not all of the job market.
Right.
And we have too many people kind of chasing where too few of the jobs are, and that's one of the things. And the other thing that is through collaboration, if you were to look for work as an individual, it does take you about 60% longer to find work. But through collaboration, working with other job seekers, that is cut in half. So it's a way to spend less time. And it does still takes older adults longer to find work. But believe me, they're catching on fast to social media. We're creating communities in LinkedIn where we can invite employers to visit the site and actually, almost like self-service, communicate with the job seekers like a virtual job fair. There's so many things that you can do now, but whether you're doing it online through a community or you're doing it over the phone or in person, it's all about learning how to get that employer and ask those motivational questions. Because employers, they never are upset about getting calls as long as you communicate effectively with that employer and start by listening. Right. They'll literally draw you a roadmap to what to do and how to get that job if you just listen to the employer.
Right. Well, we've got to mention the work you do with the CSEP program. That's the Senior Community Services Employment Program. And a huge shout out to our friend of the family, Mark Millay, and the team from the Ohio Department of Aging that really supports and nurtures CSEP. Tell us what it is and how employers can find incredible resources in that program and its participants.
Well, it's a very interesting program that's been around for over 50 years. It's one of the early war on poverty programs, and it's literally in every county of every state and every territory, too, including Marshall Islands. And it's the only program that really is geared towards specifically older adults. It works within the overall workforce system. There's a lot of partnering that goes on to make this program work. But what we do is we engage nonprofits and government agencies. They have to be 501c3 or a government agency. And we use them as sites to get some training to help build their confidence of the individuals. And it is a program for people that have to meet federal income guidelines and be unemployed. So there are some restraints, but we encourage everyone to just come directly to vantageaging.org and follow the site and check us out online, because we've always noticed that it's easier to find work when you're working. Right. And that's a powerful thing. And as far as employer goes, what employer wouldn't like this? We're going up to them and we're opening up our roles and say, here, take our employees. You couldn't do that with any of your competition. And unlike every company, we actually embrace turnover, because that helps us continue to serve more. As an individual goes out and finds a job that's unsubsidized or in the private sector, that opens up opportunities for new people to come in. So if you think about it, it really is a thing of beauty. And it's been operating, and sometimes the things that work real well are the ones that are kind of simple ideas.
Right.
Get them some work experience. move them on to better opportunities. When someone comes in, on average, they're making, low-income individuals are not making that much per month. I think our average is just under $400 a month. And because they do get paid minimum wage and they work 20 hours a week, just by engaging in that program, their income will go up. And then in turn, when we place them in the private sector, it goes up from minimum wage to on average $11.40. So that's a very successful anti-poverty program. And that's why it's been around so long, in spite of all the challenges you have with federally funded programs. But one of the things we did recognize early on is we wanted to be more than that. We felt that we needed to have programs to serve people that are laid off as well. So we got involved in the workforce programming. But we also wanted to be able to serve retirees. And that was the impetus of our staffing service, which is really now kind of not so much merged, but it works as two sides of a coin with our Encore staffing services. So we work directly not just with nonprofits, but with private sector.
Mm-hmm. Well, the two, when you think about an employer, nonprofit or government, taking a CSEP client and doing the training, they're getting the person is getting paid. It's almost like a pay forward kind of program too. They're doing a service and helping that person, but in turn, that person is helping that organization, that office, become better and get the work done and stay on time and all the things that are necessary to keep things rolling.
Yeah. And we couldn't run that program without a lot of partnerships. And the sites that host the supervision and training, that's necessary. Without them, we couldn't run the program.
Right.
And also employers too, because in fact, we have some incentives. One's called on-the-job experience, and it allows us to place someone, one of our CSEP participants, directly at an employer. If they're willing to train them for their opening, we will actually cover the wages. Not forever, but for a limited period of time, usually 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes up to 12 weeks. And that's an opportunity for employers to kind of see how that individual works.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, you've touched on this just a little bit on mature staffing, and that's just a phenomenal program that really focuses on that short-term staffing need, take care of the employer as well as helping the individual client who's job searching. But why don't you provide us a little bit of details on this service, and particularly the kinds of tasks employers are looking for people to do, and how they would contact you if they would like to be involved in that mature staffing too.
Well, and as I said, mature staffing is now renamed Encore Staffing Network. So when an employer calls, we will explore with them, are they nonprofit? Could this fit in the Encore side of it, or is this more traditional? But it runs like any other staffing service. Although we base it on a surcharge, we don't quote a price. And that means that the individuals, the more they make, the more we make, not the less they make, the more we make. And we think that's an important distinction. And, but we place people in a variety of occupations. So our specialization, and it only is a specialization, we have hired people of all ages. We're required to by law. But what it does, it helps employers tap in to the broad range of skills that older adults have. And we'll do everything from a janitor or some sort of call center. We're recruiting actually maintenance supervisors for refrigeration, machinery, and also a plant supervisor and a traffic engineer. So it gets into middle managers. And most of the positions are with private sector companies. It was meant to be a staffing service to create opportunities for mature workers. And we started that in 1989. So there wasn't a lot of people chasing older workers at the time. And that was something that was important to us, because we don't want to just place individuals at employers. We like the idea of helping create opportunities. And that was really our first was interesting how it started because I got a call from Goodyear, and they wanted us to recruit older workers and then send them over to a staffing firm. And so I'm thinking, well, we know how to do a payroll. We know that from our community service employment program, and they really helped us get started because they accepted us as a vendor, and it worked out very well. And that kind of jump-started our program.
Well, Employment for Seniors serves Central Ohio. We often get employers that call us looking for an office or a service like ours in their area. Well, CSEP is a national program, and any employer can contact their local agency. We're going to include a couple of links in the podcast notes for that as well. Tell us about the territory in Ohio that Vantage covers at this point in time.
At this point, we're primarily in the northeastern, southwestern, and kind of a spine that goes up the middle, and then Appalachia and Youngstown area. So a good part of the state, not so much in the western and northwestern. But that includes the metro areas, Youngstown, Akron, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Portsmouth, and of course Columbus, Franklin County.
Okay.
And does that include for Encore and the traditional mature staffing with private industry as well as CSEP? I mean, is it all the programs or are they different places?
We can work with any employer, actually anywhere, throughout the state anyway, because we have that system and we don't have the same restrictions. The SESEP program has a strict formula.
Right.
And you have a certain amount of positions in each county. But because we've got the system developed and we can work with local partners, we can serve people anywhere from Encore to, and we have done some Encore outside of Cleveland already. And we've recently started moving in our staffing part of it, the private sector staffing, up to the Cleveland area as well.
I got an email from Ireland this week wanting to know how we were able to pull together employment for seniors for so long on so little money and so few people.
You guys have been around.
And we have about 45 years. Yeah. But it was just interesting to hear the perspective of another country, because we get calls from all over the U.S. all the time. But, and we have gotten emails from other countries, but this was just sort of interesting. You could tell he'd really done his homework and he's really been looking around, but, I was waiting for him to invite me to come and help him, but that didn't happen. So, what are the words of wisdom that you talk to your clients about? What do you tell them is most important in their next steps to prepare to stay or go back into the workforce?
I always tell them that they have to play chess, not checkers.
Interesting.
And they sometimes have to make some moves up front in order to get where they want to go later on. So it does get back to that research and targeting and individuals and just rethink how they approach the workforce. And believe me, there's a lot of other details that come into it. Resumes are constantly changing. You have to, we like people to get LinkedIn account. We think that's a great tool. And it encourages you to be proactive. That's one of the best things about it. And, but also not to give up. I think that's being unemployed. And primarily, we do, conceivably, we would recruit someone from another company like a recruiter would. But for the most part, we really focus on the unemployed. That's our mission, is to get them back to work. Mature, unemployed, job seeker, get them back to work. And we don't treat them like a commodity. Each one is an individual, and they each have an individual plan. And a lot of times it's just building up their confidence.
Right.
That goes a long way. And when you collaborate, when you get some work experience, or when you engage with employers in a new way, such as the Encore programming, that does help not only your skills, but your experience. And I think that's important for people to understand. And when they collaborate with other individuals, they'll always find someone that's a little bit more challenged from them. And they'll start, in fact, what we've seen in some of our collaboration is the individuals get really excited about helping other individuals. Mm-hmm. They may be getting together for some networking and collaboration. And it's interesting to see the ones that help the others. And they may find out that they're developing some new interests that they didn't know they had. Right. In fact, some people, it's a little easier to help someone else find a job than themselves.
Very much so.
And because at some point, everybody likes to avoid cold calls. But at some point, they have to be able to communicate directly with that employer. Mm-hmm. That's really important.
Well, and they don't. When I was at this job fair yesterday, I was doing resume reviews, and this gentleman came up and he said, and his whole resume talked about his former employer and all of the success of the company, but nothing about what he did to make that company better. And he goes, I'm just not used to patting myself on the back. And I said, these are facts. You're not lying on your resume, and you're not, overstepping your bounds. These are facts that you're talking about. And it's important to let people know what you've done. And they really have lost their self-confidence in this process.
And a lot of people aren't comfortable bragging about yourself, but there's a way to talk about your skills and your experience and put a little story in there.
Right.
And that helps you. It helps you come across almost like you're not bragging, but you're really putting your best foot forward. Because a lot of people are not comfortable speaking about themselves. Mm-hmm. And they fail to give real examples that the employer can relate to. And I'll never forget I had, and I guess I'm kind of showing how long I've been in this business, but there was this gentleman that was doing, he did COBOL, Fortran, all the languages, RPG, RPG2. And he just started blurting out to that employer, all the different things that he did. And he was shocked. He didn't get the job, but, And I said, did you happen to find out what the employer was using? Never occurred to him. So, older workers have been working most of their lives. And depending on the field, they may be used to people calling them. And they're preferred, if they have some skill sets that employers are needed, they don't really have to look. But you often wonder, what would they be able to accomplish if they did become a little more proactive?
Right.
And it gets back to that chess match. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to do some moves to set up the real move, the killer move, as they say.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And job seekers don't always think about that.
Mm. Well, I think our collaboration, years in the making, has led us to this point.
Right.
Working with you, with Employment for Seniors, creating this relationship, and all of a sudden coming into the same building together because we met each other how many years ago, and knowing, someday we're going to, we need to work together, maybe in the same building. You're looking for a new location. We didn't know at the time we were going to be looking for a new location, and now we're together.
Exactly.
And I too want to shout out to Mark Millay because I believe he's got quite a long title, but I know part of it is Director of Strategic Partnerships, and he really nurtures those. And for us, it was a very, very beneficial way, and I think we're leveraging funds for both of us.
Well, and what I love about Mark is he's bringing to the State Department of Aging not just advocacy for older adult workers, but he gets it. Mark just gets it. He understands the issues and what the client goes through, what we go through to help that client. And he is just terrific. And I can't wait to give him the link so he'll know we talked about him on this podcast, because he'll love it. Mark's a great guy. And for us here at Employment for Seniors, we've got a great relationship with the Department of Aging, as well as COAAA, who provided us with all this great equipment for our podcasting, Franklin County Aging. So we have some good strategic partners that keep us going. And, one of the things you just mentioned too about how people like helping each other and sort of that peer counseling, that's actually the basis of Employment for Seniors, is peer counseling. When Mr. Marcus started us, it was the notion of not just finding people places to go work, but seniors helping seniors. And that was the basis of his first funding for Employment for Seniors, and it's always part of our grant request. So our volunteer team is the heart of our operation.
Well, and if you really think about it, collaboration is the key to working together as agencies too.
Right.
Both for job seekers and even among our staff. We love it when they collaborate. They work with an employer in one area, and then something works, and they share it with projects across the state. Because we have 7 different projects plus an Encore program up in Cleveland. So we're excited about making that and expanding that.
Well, our intention is to do Encore here, work with you and help you make that happen. And so, we got lots of great clients who would be interested in something like this, and I'm sure the employers are too. So, can you think of anything else you want to make sure that you've had an opportunity to talk about today?
May I mention our website?
Yes,
that would
absolutely.
be vantageaging.org, all one word. And they can get a wealth of information. We have it. We're just getting ready to launch it, but the individuals will be able to sign up online and learn about all our programs. We've got a great clickable map. They can find out by clicking which county they're in, where the contact is, and everything to that nature.
Great.
And, a lot of other helpful links as well.
Wonderful.
But we still answer the phone too.
Well, yes, and they ring, don't they? Well, constantly. So, Paul, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You been on the road all day with the last stop here in Columbus before you get to go home, and we really appreciate your time today and talking about this collaboration, and we're looking forward to Encore here in Columbus.
Absolutely.
Thank
you so much for your time.
Thanks for listening to the Successful Encore Career Podcast, presented by Employment for Seniors and sponsored by Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging, Nationwide Insurance, and InnoSource. This podcast is available on our website, employseniors.org, as well as Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, or your favorite podcast player. To help us defray the cost of producing the podcast, consider donating to Employment for Seniors. Go to employseniors.org and click on the Donate Now button. Any amount is appreciated, and we'll make sure that we thank you for your support in an upcoming podcast episode.
Employment for Seniors is the premier resource linking mature adults with employment opportunities. If you're 50 years of age or older and living in Central Ohio, we're here to help you find employment. And Central Ohio employers are mature, talented, skilled, and dependable job seekers who will provide significant value to your organization. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. If you have a topic or interview idea, let us know. Send us an email at podcast@employseniors.org.
Circle270Media.com